All right. Welcome to the Coaching Culture in Athletics, the show where coaches, athletes, educators, and leaders come together to discuss what it takes to build successful programs and successful people. Tonight we got Iowa City High head coach Mitchell Moore, and he's one of those crazies that's already got a staff meeting tonight, but that's okay. We're going to go a little bit early, and we're going to kind of rock and roll. Hey, Coach, welcome to the Coach Show. We're really excited to have you on tonight,
guys. Thanks for having me. Coach called a couple weeks ago, and I was excited to come on. I got a staff meeting tonight. Football starts tomorrow. It starts here at 12:01, June 1st. So we've got a little staff meeting tonight just to get everybody aligned on the summer. And I don't have them every Sunday, but this Sunday.
I'm telling you what, man, it's football is, that first time when you can go and grind. That's truly amazing. So icebreaker question number one, and then I'll let Derek kind of dig in here. What made you fall in love with the game of football?
Yeah, that's good. Started back with my high school program and high school coach and probably just the camaraderie of people from a bunch of different backgrounds coming together for one cause, for a team victory, for a team goal. And I think, when you're a young kid and you're struggling to find your identity in any part of life, when you're in high school, and you've got a great leader as a coach, which I did in high school, Al Christian, who's coaching North Polk now, but at the time I was at Ballard Huxley, and he got the best out of you as people, outside of football, but he got the most out of you from a coach I had ever had, and I think that gravitated me, and that's how I fell in love with the game.
Now, Coach Doherty says that there haven't been many coaches up at Iowa City High.
5 total. Yep, 5 total. And so, I almost got chills when I said it. Like you think about, what an honor it is to be the head coach at a program like this and the history that this program had. But how about the faith and trust they've had in a football coach and a leader? Because we've had, right outside my door, you can see the state championships, but we don't win it every year. We haven't won it for a long time, but they kept great leaders and great men around this program, and they had great leaders and great men, so they stayed for a long time. But trust me, I don't tread lightly or take that lightly when I think about what an honor it is to be the head coach of this program that it's only had 5 head coaches ever. So it's pretty neat.
If you hear the beagle in the background, I apologize. I'm doing the best I can tonight. All right, Dee, take it away.
On radio, man. So
that's right.
No, Coach. Hey, thanks for coming on. I know I've been following you for quite some time. I know that you were at Greene County at one point. I really started following you and what you do when you're at Roosevelt, and I thought, man, just the things that you accomplished there was awesome, because that was a program that was struggling. Then you move on to this job. What are the first things that you look for when you jump into a new program, especially a struggling program?
Well, the competitiveness in me and like the chip on my shoulder, and when enough people tell you that's not the job, that's not the place, those kids I don't want to act like that's not part of it, because it is. Like I love that part of that. Maybe that place had an opportunity to be successful, and so you have to create that environment, so that's number one. I kind of looked at that early in my career. Greene County was, when I took that program over too, or we took that program over, like it was down too. We went from 1-8 to 8-1, and we were the last. We beat OAB, and we beat the all-world player that went to Iowa in the district final. We had Tyler Miller, who was starting at Iowa State, and then Des Moines was just such an interesting place because nobody had won in the city forever, and players didn't stay at their schools all the time, but there was a lot there. There was a lot to offer, and then COVID hit. Otherwise, it was just a really, really unique place to be at. We had a lot of success. Jamison Patton, the kids that went on to Grandview to win national titles, or Finn Claypool, that's where he started, who went to Drake, and then Fresno State, and he's now with the Seattle Seahawks. Like, we were all in that thing together, and COVID hit, and we were one of 5 programs in the state that didn't have football. And it was such a unique point in my life, because I had to fight for something bigger than football right then and there. Like, you had to keep young men around each other that didn't have anything. Take football aside, but they didn't have water and food and sometimes electricity. And with the COVID, it was wild. And so I had to fight to keep that camaraderie, and so it was just unique. But at the same time, I could not coach football, and so City High kind of came along, an opportunity, and it was kind of a best of all worlds, right? City High, a place that maybe needed a shot in the arm, but had great history and great passion and great people around, and an administrative place, people in place to make the right decisions. And so, and we just needed some stability. And so that's what's been fun right now. But I wouldn't have been good as doing that if I wouldn't have the perspective at the other places, right? I mean, and now hopefully we had a nice rise here at City, and we had a struggled year, but I think with being here for 5 years, our culture still shined through last year, and we've had the best offseason I've ever had here. So I think all of it's all cyclical, and it's all part of that timeline you need as a coach to grow.
Absolutely.
You look at the struggles. Myself as a coach, I've experienced several. And tell me about a season that you've had in your career that almost broke you.
First season, Greene County, 1-8. I can remember where I was sitting, talking to my high school coach, and called him. I was like, man, I can't do this. Like, people in the community don't like me because I made a decision on a football play, and like, I don't like my family. I've got young kids. Like, this isn't what I want to do. And he's like, no, you're exactly where you need to be. You need to show them who you are and what your character is, and fight through hard times. And this is when you don't listen to outside noise. And it was just such a, I was a grown man at that point in my life, a young man, but I still needed that. I still needed that mentorship, and still do today, right? I've learned that the older you get too, is the more you need mentorship. But at that point, it was like, man, I was at that breaking point of, I'm not any good at this thing. I was just at Iowa State with Matt Campbell 6 weeks ago, and now I'm 1-5 at Greene County, and what am I doing? I want to run and go back. I need to go back, and it just whatever. Hey, keep fighting through this. And then we had a tremendous season, the next year, and I think I found my passion in this high school zone.
Awesome.
Dee, I'm going to I'm going to take myself off. You guys are I'm going to mute myself and take the dog outside. I'll be right back.
All right, Coach. So you've talked a lot about player development. I watch a lot of stuff on you, and I follow you on socials really, really close. And you're a developer, and I think that's awesome. Just seeing what you do in the weight room, and little hints of other things that you do. Going into tomorrow, what does the day-to-day summer look like in your development of your program?
Well, I think, like, number one, it gets lost sometimes in all the socials and everything, but you need to be, like, extremely organized and extremely organized. And I say this because pivoting from your plan or your organizational plan is something we do all the time around here, and we probably will tomorrow. But if you're not organized, then you're making up what the next move is. And so I think it starts with being really, really organized and really, really consistent in, hey, what we're going to do, how we're going to do this all week long, all summer long, how we're going to develop this plan. And then I think number two, just talking to a dad about this, grad parties this weekend, and had some guys up here getting their helmets, and some dads come along. So it's always fun. And I just said, it's like, we don't have a magic wand in development. I think we're really, really consistent every single day, or I try to be. I coach really hard between the right lines, and I love them really hard outside of it. And our parents have allowed us to do that here. Our administration, and that's not beating anybody down. That's not always yelling at them. That's just demanding a lot out of them, demanding time, demanding effort, demanding, we're going to do things. And I know baseball's got something, and I know you've got these camps, but you need to learn how to communicate with me as a head coach and say, Coach, I can't do this, or Coach, I need to sleep in tonight. Good. In the morning, good. Tell me that. Text me. Text your D-line coach that. And just learn how to communicate as a young man. And I think maybe the consistency in which I'm here every day. My favorite saying that coaches would say is, like, your best ability is your availability. And so, like, the consistency where I'm just always here, then I can demand a lot out of those guys. And when they can't be here, they still have to learn some piece of communication and so that's struggle, right? We struggle as adults going, shit, I can't go to this thing. Oh, I can't go to this thing tonight. Like you text somebody you don't like to do that, but you need to, right? And so I think immense communication from the very get-go of like laying out your summer for your coaches and letting them know what your standard is. And for them too, they need to communicate when they can't be there up front and early. And then, being really consistent with your day in and day out to your players that, we're going to coach you hard on the field. We're going to love you hard afterward. And we're going to over communicate with you. I think those are like pivotal things in our growth and development. And then I tell you the last piece, it's my favorite part, or what I probably have the most hands-on our program is our strength and conditioning piece. That's what kind of my background was in school, and I got my master's in and worked early on in my career when I was at Whitewater with some really, really neat trainers. And so I've always been fascinated with sports performance as a whole, not just the football player. I train, baseball players, swimmers, golfers, also within our school, which helps with helps with a lot of things. But that being said, I dictate our program accustomed to what's best for the player and what's best for their health, what's best for their rest, what's best for their volume, what's best for their, a lot of things that drive probably the normal football coach crazy at times, but being the head coach, that's what I do. The guys that are with me know that. And then I give a lot of autonomy to my offensive and defensive coordinators, and knowing that we're going to build them around how I'm going to train them and this motto of consistency. But, it can be good and bad. Some people think it's like, oh man, that's crazy. It's too much. And then I think, some coordinators really enjoy like, hey, he's going to give me a lot of autonomy if we can keep it within these, in the frame of the system. Right. So yeah, no, I feel, glad that that, because I do. I think one of the pillars of our program is like just developing guys that we've developed these really good quarterbacks and really good O linemen and really good linebackers. And believe it or not, they haven't all been really good as freshmen. And so you love that as a high school coach, don't you? Like, man, this guy wasn't that good, and then you've had Ben Keeter, who was incredible from the time Phil got in the building,
Yeah, you got some monsters. I've been watching your lifts and everything, and man,
yeah,
I don't get to see the before when these kids walk in as a freshman, but I know that's an awesome thing that you get to see. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
What about buy-in? Like with parents, to get the kids to want to be there, to enjoy it, to love it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I think honestly, it starts with authenticity and just being yourself and letting them, be vulnerable with, hey, this is how we coach our program. Not everything we're going to do is great. If you guys have questions about what we do, come in and be around it, and don't, we're not like, hey, you can't come to this practice, you can't come to this way. Do we do everything that you agree with all the time? No, but come be around it, be a part of it, and you belong in our programs, and so come do it. And I think so that creates a lot of buy-in, because you're not hiding anything. Hey, come be a part of it. If you don't like it, let's, and so, and then, I think there's a couple different avenues we look at in the offseason when we talk about that. Got to recruit our own hallways. I mean, we've got 1,600 kids in this school. We've got enough kids that just aren't exposed to the game of football too many times early in their life, aren't exposed to good coaches or mentors or whatever that is. They don't have to be able to catch and run or even know that there's 11 guys on the field, but they got to have some sense of like commitment, right? So get the guys in our hallways. We're always going to get 5 to 10. And out of those 5 to 10, we break it down. You're going to get 5 of those guys that can contribute for your varsity team every year. And then you've got to create a great image about your program, like on socials. And some people, early on when we did it, it's like it's almost like outlandish and maybe too brash, but we're not trying to recruit people that don't like us. We're trying to recruit people that want to be involved. And so I always kind of towed the line. I have a guy do all our social media. I don't touch it. But people, you don't know that. So some of it all comes back on you, coach, or me. When you're the head coach, it all comes back on you, which is great. You've got to kind of compartmentalize, but that's definitely an avenue we look at in the offseason is like, how do we create a brand that's exciting, that people want to be involved in, that people want to learn from, right? Because these kids are smart and so are the parents. it can't be fluff. There's got to be substance behind it. What are they learning? What are they doing? Right? Show that, and then just being out here and playing football in the summer and getting kids. I've got an office that sits over 2 fields, and it's open every day after school. There's footballs in here, and I don't need to go out there and tell these guys what to do. Get 10 guys, go play catch, get out on the field, create camaraderie, right? Create throwing the ball together. And I think it really started with our quarterback, Bobby Bacon, who our principal's son a couple of years ago. He made football fun, right? He made the backyard football fun again. Guys playing catch out here, guys doing things that I hadn't seen at schools or just young kids doing a long time. And guess who's watched Bobby? Our quarterback now, our quarterback who's come in, my son who's a 9th grader. Like, that's all they saw was Bobby with a quarterback in his hands, spinning it and throwing it to whoever would want to go catch and guard the guy. And so I tell that to guys that come through our program all the time, quarterback coaches, like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, getting throws in, not teaching them how many cones to go over and how many things and how to throw off your back foot and spin and jump. And I know they like it, but that's not how they've gotten better. It's getting a football, getting their teammates and go running routes. Right. And so I think those 3 things combined, Coach Banks, would be like, that's how we create a sense of getting people, connected to our program. 1, making it available for them, right? A good sense of social media branding, and then getting in your hallways and then lastly, like, there's not a bigger salesman than for City High football than me. So everywhere I'm at, people want to ask me, man, it's the best program in the world. Come be a part of it. Right. So you can't be the glass half empty guy as a head coach, right? You've got to create energy around your program. Or I think you're missing out on 3 to 5 guys that are going to legitimately help your program every year. You just are, right? Because people want to be around that. So we work hard at it. We really do. And it's a great question because it's something we evaluate, in January when we talk about our program.
All right, Didi, you got to jump in, man.
Yeah, man. I'm freaking, I need my notebook. I need to be writing this down. Coach is awesome. Told you. Coach, I want to go back to your Whitewater days. And if I remember right, you were part of that like 45 game win streak and all of that.
Yeah.
Wisconsin Whitewater's been a name that, football guys have known for a really long time.
Yep.
You've been through it. What makes that program so special?
Well, I'll give you just a little background on it. So I played for Coach Stan Zweifel, and Coach Bob Breswitz, who were there for a long, long time. And then my senior year, here comes this guy that we had never heard of, but other than we'd see him on our walls. He was a quarterback there in the 80s. And he was a pretty good coach at UNO, but his name was Lance Leipold. So Lance Leipold comes in, and then he's the head coach in 2007. We had just went to 2 straight national championship games, played Mount Union starting in 2001. Kind of our motto is you want to be the best, you got to play the best. And I always bring that. I bring that out once a year with my guys, this story. And we started playing them in 2001. We didn't beat them until 2007. And so I think through that transition, then Coach Leipold comes, and we had lost 4 guys. Two were drafted in the NFL that year from the 06 team, Derek Stanley in the 3rd round. Tight end, played 3 years in the Redskins. And here comes our 07 class with a bunch of guys that looked like me, couldn't run, couldn't jump, but loved football. We had competed for 3-4 years against all these really good guys, and we won the national title. And so and then Lance just went on this run. We won 45 games in a row. I came back and coached on that team. And it was just Lance was such a visionary. And when you talk about model and consistency, why that program was so good, it had a little bit of that Iowa and just being so methodical in everything you do. And you're not deviating from your plan of what you do at Tuesday mornings at 6:00. And it doesn't matter if you're the best player, the worst player, or, the most privileged or not. Like you were going to be at team breakfast and you were going to check in with this person. And he just created a standard and discipline about you. And then as the season went on, he'd let you have a personality about you. But he created this almost death trap at the beginning. And then every year he'd go back to ground zero and then recreate it. And it was, did I know it at the time? No. But looking back on it, I remember leaving there like, holy cow, I left there essentially overnight to go work with Paul Rhodes at Iowa State. And Coach went 3 weeks later to Buffalo, Coach Leipold, and we had both split. So it's just, some of those stories you can't make up. But I didn't know, like, hey, we won a national title and I'd played in 3 straight. But you're a player and you go through the struggle, and there were ups and downs. And I wasn't a star by any means in any team. And then all of a sudden you win 45 in a row as a coach, and you're like, I'll never do this again in my career. And like, holy cow, what a thing to look back on. And for me, kind of the bottom level of that pyramid was me starting out coaching with, like, this is the John Wooden way of how to do it, and of course, as every year and every decade does, things evolve and you've got to advance your way of doing things. But, Lance Leipold is still doing a lot of things really well, right, that he did day one at Whitewater, I'll promise you. So it was fun. It was just a really, and then I go from there to Iowa State, and I'm with this just, you can't be more passionate about football at Iowa State and coaching than Paul Rhodes. He was just he brought out the passion in you. Dan McCarney is an Iowa City Little Hawk, and so I just talked to him on the phone today. He's this is the honest guy. You guys will love this story. He's called me every single Friday at 7 a.m. every game I've ever coached at Iowa City. On the dot, even if we've got a team meal, doesn't matter. He's calling me and he's firing me up with the best pep talk you'll ever have. So I've got him in one ear, and then the Paul Rhodes passion in the other. So, like, God dang it, on Friday nights I get a little bit passionate. Well, I mean, look who I was coaching with. So, but I'm with Coach Rhodes, at Iowa State, and I went through the up and down of that, the Magino hire, and we had Courtney Messingham and some of his best friends, and then everybody kind of got let go, and Matt Campbell came in. And what kept me on was I was a Whitewater guy, and Matt Campbell was a Mount Union guy. And way back when, we had crossed paths at the national championship game.
Wow.
And all but God, 3 guys stay. One's now the Denver Broncos running back coach. One's now the GM with Matt Campbell, and here I am in Iowa City. So it's crazy, isn't it? Like, when I got to know Coach Campbell, who was he's everybody's best quality in one. Like, he's a incredible, intellectual, very authentic, very smart leader, right? Always he reads, he reevaluates himself, he treats everybody with class, and he knows when to turn it up. Like, that was like a master's class for that 18 months with him, because you're just around masterful leadership. His Karras, Coach Karras at Mount Union, who's the winningest coach in college football, maybe. And that was his mentor. So I got to see Matt, who probably took that to the next level, and it's just been so fortunate. I always say, like, the only reason I've been any good at anything, I just copy the great people that I've worked for, right? So, and that's kind of how coaching is.
Well, I wanted to ask you about Matt Campbell because, I'm from Southeast Iowa. So if you're down here, you're a Hawkeye fan. Mm-hmm. And I respect Iowa State, and I'm not a hater or anything, but when he came along, I just thought, man, this guy, there's something different about him. And I went to the IFCA clinic and I heard him speak, and it wasn't a rah-rah speech, but I'll tell you what, I wanted to climb up on top of the roof and eat the shingles off the place. I was so fired up, and he wasn't even trying to fire us up, but this dude, there's something about him. What is it?
Yeah. He's like, I don't even know how to describe it other than, like, he has this humble swagger about him. And when you're around men that, like, man, they've got an it factor, but they don't need to present it that way. And they every time they speak, they're so calculated. And he was so good at, he'd go into a room, he's in the quarterback's room or in the offensive coordinator's room, and he's really asking questions, and he's being inquisitive about, hey, what are we doing here, and why are we doing it? And, I believe you, but show me. And then boom, he's on a recruiting call in the next office, and he's talking to a set of parents that's from upstate New York, and then one that's from inner city Chicago. And then 2 minutes later, he's at a luncheon, and he's given, I guess for lack of better terms now, the Joe Pa speech. And he was so good at all of them. And you're like, because me included, you're just, there's some things that I'm not as good at. I've got to get assistance for. I'm just not as good. And you turn the corner with him, and there wasn't anything he wasn't as good at. And then on top of it, he was humble about it and always trying to sharpen his tools, right? He was always trying to sharpen his tools. So from that avenue, it's like, man, you've got this guy at the top of the world, in coaching football, but yet he shows great gratitude. He's got an unbelievable sense of like humility. And then on top of it, he wants to give back and help others and keep getting better himself. So, man, again, you talk about like not taking things for granted. I didn't, but when he told me like, you need to go, you need to go be a head high school coach, and you need to go do this, and you need to go be a leader. You can always come back and work with me. And I believe that, just go do that. And I haven't looked back. So he was right. He was right.
I apologize for Loki, howling in the backfield. Now I do got to throw this out there, Coach. The only thing that Coach Matt Campbell stated, and I listen to his stuff currently, is he said Ames was a food desert, man.
I knew it was coming. And it's not. I love Coach Campbell. But there's some proud Ames guys on that staff up there now. They wouldn't be saying that, because there's a lot of good places. There's some hidden gems in Ames. I Wallabies. Listen, they've eaten at Wallabies.
The barbecue.
In their life, so they can't say they don't. It's a desert. They love it. They loved eating there. There's a lot. There's great food in Ames.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can Happy Valley really be that much better?
I don't know. He's made statements like I want to go eat now. Up in Wisconsin. Okay.
Yeah.
I said Wisconsin.
Well,
anyway,
I love Wisconsin. I'm a Wisconsin Whitewater, so I love my Wisconsin.
Yeah. They get mad at me when I call them cheese balls and not cheese curds.
Oh yeah. I call them cheese balls for years, and they want them cheese curds. We've got a right to call them cheese balls. We have a lot of places with cheese balls in Iowa.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, Dee. I totally screwed it up, but you continue, man.
So I want to go back. You've had all kinds of success and been around it for a long time as a player, as a coach, now leading programs. How important is the weight room in that?
Well, it's the number one, in my opinion. I say this because it comes from my mind right now, but like, man, I can find out who you are in the weight room more than I can in anything. I think I can find out on how you're going to be in the job in the real world. Are you skipping reps? Are you pushing yourself on days when you don't feel good? I can see that. I'm going to push you to try to be 100 every day, but I know when you're not. Are you finding time not to be there? Like we lift at 6 a.m, and some days you just need to be tired, right? Like I get it. I love the science of what we do. I study it. I think it's really important. I think it's got so much more to do with your central nervous system and the way you think and the way you articulate things outside of the weight room. So believe me, I believe in it. But there's also, you have to callous yourself and you have to create a higher ceiling for yourself, both mentally and physically, right? You can't just every time you're tired, everything. So we create barriers in the weight room that you have to meet. And if you do, you're going to grow. And if you don't, you found a way to get an excuse. And so then that immediately tells me there's some type of crack in there when it comes to Friday nights and when it comes to football. That doesn't mean we can't get through it. And that doesn't mean we've got great coaches that need to learn how to listen. We're not just coaching football players. We're coaching a whole kid that does a lot of other things. However, that weight room piece, that should be a part of every program, every sport you're in. That should be a training method. We're so far behind in our youth model right now in America with just all we do is play. And, I talk about my sister all the time. She's got 2 super talented kids and they're the best of the whatever, but like, you better be getting them in a training facility and teaching them how to think and how to move and how to cut and how to use their balance and how to sharpen their eye-hand coordination and play lots of sports. Right. But, so I just think, Coach, I could talk for hours on that. It is, again, it's the most important part of my program. I believe in it. I still fight coaches on it at my school and my best friends, and they love, they love it. Man, our kids are tired today. No, they're not. You need to get them in there. It's game day. Let's roll. We got to get there. They're more tired if they don't. And so and then here's the other piece that I guess you get better at as you get older is just, coaches are very very stubborn about how they want to run their program. And so you've got to be an advantage for them, and you can't be a detriment to them, and you got to work with them. And for me, I've got to find the balance of like, listen, I know 90% of this and you know 10. You also know your team 90% and I only know it 10. So there's got to be a workaround. But the science part of it, we know as strength coaches, listen, there is a pattern you have to follow to really show gains. And this idea, don't ever say the word like, let's maintain. No, they're 14 to 18-year-old kids. They're never maintaining, right? There should be a wave of training. But that's the fun piece, right? That's coaching. That's the science of it. That's what I love to, yep, that's exactly right. Yep. So good question.
It's awesome. I can listen to you talk for hours on it. So I love it. I'm a nerd, man.
My staff in about 10 minutes is going to be like, all right, coach, are we done yet? Cause I'm going through go through the random rights tonight. So
take us, just through, your preseason, everything you're kind of dialing in and things like that. And what does your coaches meeting look like? You know what I mean? This sort of thing.
Oh yeah. So first thing we're just going to talk about is like, hey, what is our language wants to be, and I'm going to talk about tonight about, I don't need our summer to be perfect. I just want it to be aligned. And I want us to get on the same language. I want to build, like just talking about building that callus. I want to build up, like we got to build continuity. We got to build leadership. We've got to build who are the guys going to be there. And then we've got to learn to support the guys that aren't there right now. They're in baseball and that are at camps. And that when your starting safety's not there, the backup safety's got to come in, and we've got to build depth. And last year we weren't able to do that. We were just so young, and there's a good buzz going on right now about our program and what we're doing. And all, we ended the season with 17 sophomores on the field on the last snap. So like, in 5A football, that's scary and that's exciting, right? And we've had some guys that have moved in and some guys that have lived in our district that have chosen to come back, and so. It's just there's some good energy, and so we got to be aligned, right? I don't athletically we're in a good place, but we've got to be aligned, and we've got to like love this grind of summer, because the summer grind for Iowa high school it's like spring ball, and you install a lot. You've got to strength and conditioning. You've got to work on everybody's got speed work now. All of a sudden it's like I don't know why we're always not doing speed work, but you got to do your speed work in the summer and strength conditioning. You've got to do some install, and you've got to do football, and you've got to balance that with rest, right? And camps. Are camps important? Yes. Are 20 of them important? No. But every kid who's getting recruited should see 3 or 4 of them, and so. We just talk about all that tonight. We'll talk about that, and then we'll go in the mornings, and so we'll go from about 7 to 10 a.m. and then we'll go 2 nights a week of just what we call kind of replicate what the NFL does. So we make it fun. We call them OTAs, just an official team activity, where we bring 5th through 12th graders there, and they watch our varsity. We all warm up together, and young guys on one side kind of can throw the football around, maybe run through a formation or other. And then on the other side, our varsity are playing some 7-on-7 and some, just some team scenarios and under the lights, and it's good. So in the mornings, we install and foundation, a lot of individual work, a little bit of on-air install, and then we'll go lift heavily, and we'll, and then we'll watch it. I record our walkthrough or our warm-ups. Remember, I'm this crazy strength guy. So like recording how we warm up and our lines. Do we have enough people in the right lines? Why do we look like this? So I like, again, callus them, for lack of a better term, early on in the summer, so they're ready to roll in August. And I've learned is, we can't burn them out. And that'll be another message for my coaches tonight is we're all excited as hell to get here in the morning and do this, but don't burn them out in like July 10th, because then you got no gas. And I've done that. I did that at Roosevelt one year. I thought I burned them out early on that second year, and maybe year 2 here with Keeter's group, who Keeter just won the world championships, and we had just won 10-2, and we had everybody coming back. And I thought we were so excited to get to that next summer, and we did so much. And all of a sudden, day 1 of football in August, and it's like, oh, we've already done all this. And like so finding different ways to create competition that aren't football, finding different ways to create leadership and continuity that aren't football will be a little bit of a challenge for me these next 2 years, right? Because that's what this team is. So no, I summer's fun for me. It's the ultimate growth. Like, right, you're not winning and losing. Parents aren't. I haven't put a depth chart out yet, so nobody's coming after my head yet. But we're creating competition and we're creating standards and we're creating evaluation periods, which is, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Coach, I got one more for you, and I know you got to get going, but as an outside viewer of your program, like I said, I think that you're a phenomenal developer. I think that you're a leader of men, and you're at the school that leads.
Yeah.
What leadership stuff do you have inside of your program to help these kids be leaders?
Well, and we talk about this as our staff quite a bit, and this offseason have created a leadership group of men outside our program that are men, like men in the community that are going to put a legacy club together, and we've brought in speakers that are great men and great leaders and that have walked our hallways or haven't walked our hallways but have played in the NFL or done certain things. And so we're starting with a plan of just showing them this. I'll go by this year. We're showing them who those great young leaders are, and then we're giving them some incentives along the way of the things that those leaders did that created a great standard and what passion in their life and how they got there. And so we're going to create some of those bookmarks this summer to kind of just evaluate, I guess, right? And so that would be a way we just showed them great leadership. We're going to have a leadership group in the fall, like we always do. I usually don't do captains. I have a different captain every coin toss. I don't know. I go back and forth every year, and then I just fall back on what I've always been comfortable with is like, man, who is the captain? Who will lead? And then we have captains elected at the end of the year. And it's usually pretty obvious. And on great teams, sometimes it's not because you got a lot. But it's a great question, Coach. And I think it's one of the questions. It's one of the things, the things that I'm always curious about is how do I keep growing in something that you're naturally pretty good at being able to do, but you don't want to get stagnant in it. And I know that I've got the ability to lead a team or lead a group of men, and I've done it, and I've got perspective in doing it. But don't just think you're good at doing it. You keep finding ways to challenge myself in doing it. And I think this year I have this off season, and one of the ways that helped me kind of come to the revelation of doing what we're doing this off season was, not having a good year, but staying pretty true to what we were and our attitude and our effort, and not ripping the Band-Aid off of everything and going, man, we're not doing it right. We suck. I'm not very good. I gotta get rid of every no, just, okay, hey, find another way to bring some leadership into your program. Find another way to inspire these kids that maybe will inspire me as well, right? Like every one of these guys we brought in the last 3 months, man, I walk away on Fridays and like, wow, you're just kind of in the presence of greatness. Like, we're Ben Keeters and former guys at Calvin Johnson and, NFL guys and you just name it. We had kind of the who's who, and it was really cool to see them in person. And now it's on us to replicate that a little bit. Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
I normally ask this every week because it's an important one for me. When you talk about dealing and coping with your own personal mental health, especially going through the grind and everything that takes place, what do you do to keep yourself grounded and ready to go?
Well, for me, it starts at home, right? I've got tremendous, strong women around me. My mom, my father's passed, but my wife and my mom and my sister, and they always make sure that football isn't who I am; it's what I do. My identity can be the head football coach in the community, but that's not football per se, right? It's your identity is much bigger than that, and so I think, I don't always listen to them, but I hear them, if you know what I mean, and so they keep me very grounded. And I think being part of a community as a high school coach humbles you because does the head high school coach know more than 99.9% of everybody in the town about football? Yes. but that doesn't matter. You have to make people feel included. You have to make this program feel like it's their program. You have to bring people from this side, and you have to be able to bring them together. And you have to be attentive to knowing the game of football and knowing when to put your foot down. But it also, I think you just think about your mental health, and it started with your mental health. But I stay grounded, and I have a lot of perspective on it. Used to be just football, and it drove me, and the outcome drove me, and the wins and losses drove me, and where people went, what people thought of me drove me. And through doing that at times and listening to the people around me, and the mental health part of society has gotten so much more transparent in the last 5 years. And one, like, you're more apt to talk about it. Like, you wouldn't ask this question 6 years ago.
No.
Number two, I wouldn't have had an answer to give you 6 years ago, because I wouldn't have had the experience of what I have the last 6 years, of what I've learned from kids, what I've learned from, talking to our therapists, or the guys that we have that come in and talk about mental health with our program. Or, mental health can be not just the reactive, it can be the proactive, right? And so it's a thing that I think about often. You don't always act on, but when you do, you see the growth in you as a person, and you see the growth in the people around you that do it. So I love that you even asked about it, because I have to think about it. And it's like, we try to put some type of mental aptitude, character building, or mental awareness building in quite a bit in the summer. We had a coach Walker, does our leadership, and we talk about that stuff. And I think, what's the magic wand? We don't have the magic wand, but we talk about it. I think we're open with our kids and communicative with them, and letting them know that, listen, that door, when you come in here, it does not have to be X's and O's. And so I think that's probably our best foot forward on it, really.
Well, that was a badass response. I thought you kicked
Absolutely.
ass on that one. So,
all right. Well, that was a good question. And matter of fact, halfway through the response, I'm like, I got to do something with this week. Like, I got to set the tone with that this week, that it's an important, before you came in here, I had kids come in here, and we had some serious conversations before you came in here, and it wasn't about football tomorrow. It was, it's just about how getting through this summer, and it's going to be some different, and that's, so that's good that you bring that up, and it's good that we all bring that up to each other, right? I think that's important.
Great.
Absolutely. Coach Dede?
Yeah, Coach, just want to wish you luck this summer, and would love to have you on again, and I'd love to chat with you some. I love what you're doing and respect it, and I'm a big fan of you.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And likewise, I follow you as well. And, honestly, bring your staff down here. You guys would come down and spend a day in the summer with us. That'd be awesome. And just see what we do, meet our coaches. And, but you guys, whatever, call me anytime. I'd love to be on.
Awesome. I'm going to take you up on that. Thank you so much.
You bet, guys. Thanks, Coach.
Man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
You bet.
All right. Okay. That guy, he got me excited about football, Dede.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And he was very science-based, which, is, it kind of leans on with you. Now, just to pick your brain on that, you were a science teacher. Okay.
14 years, man.
Is that what kind of drove you to create your weightlifting mentality based off of science?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the same principles. I mean, force production, right? Like, you're in physics, so I taught an intro level to physics, and there's one way to create force: mass times acceleration. And so, why is the weight room important? And we're trying to go cross curricular in there, and I'm talking to them about the physics formulas and different things. And the cool thing has been, since we've been on VBT, and we can switch what we're looking at. If we're looking at, the velocity-based stuff, so meters per second, or if we're looking at power output, so now we're looking at watts, just hearing the kids talk about these science terms and really start to understand it, because, it took a long time for me, even though I kind of knew both sides of the world, to pair them, because the weight room's always been about pounds, right? Like, that's caveman type stuff. How much can you stack on the bar and push it one time? And science is debunked a lot of that stuff. And our kids, we fought it for a long time, and we're still kind of fighting it, fighting some parents on it a little bit, just because it's what they know. And I love what Coach said there is, inclusive. And I know I've had a conversation with one of our kids, and he was talking about his dad's thoughts on things. And I'm like, dude, let's get together and have this conversation. Tell your dad to come in the weight room, watch what we do. And, I know, Banks, you've heard me say it, like our practices, our weight room, it's open. Any parent can come and watch and see what we do.
And, I can remember, back in my head coaching days, man, I wanted closed practices. I was like, get the hell out of here, man. But, I was still pretty open, with those types of things. And you look at, your program, how you teach in the weight room. And I don't think a lot of people understand, how much is involved in the creation of, a weight training program that's out of this world that you've created. But when you go in there, man, it's like Dr. Doherty working, man.
Oh, my wife would say I'm obsessed. And I probably am. I'm obsessed with trying to do what's right for these kids and for our community, and work really hard at it. I don't do it, for a pat on the back or anything, but I love our kids and I love our community. And the awesome thing is I love football and I love physiology of exercise. So I truly feel like I've got the best job in the entire world. I mean, I get to do two things that I absolutely love and still coach wrestling and coach track and just be a coach in the community that I grew up in and gave me a lot. And yeah, I'm a lucky dude, man.
Yeah. And you have no ego, man, when it comes to that stuff. However, you see there's Loki in the butt there. But anyway, I totally forgot where I was going with that conversation, Dee, because the dog is.
I get it. We just got our grand pup, so we were waiting on him to be delivered, and he came in, and he is all piss and vinegar. So he.
So how excited are you for tomorrow, man?
I mean, I agree with what Coach said. I love this. It doesn't take too much to get me fired up about football and development and things like that. So being smart on not doing too much and trying to fit everything in and burn the kids out. And I think we've got a really good recipe this year. So it's taken me I just finished 7th year or whatever and of football. And I think we've got a really good recipe for this summer, and I'm excited to see how it works. But we've been really transparent with the parents and the players of, this is what we need. And we're going to give you plenty of time to go off and be kids and spend time with your family and go on vacations and things like that. But, one of my favorite sayings is it takes what it takes. I'm tired of losing. I don't like losing. Everybody knows that about me. Right. And quite frankly, I wasn't really used to losing. And then, we got hit in the face with it, and you reflect back and you know why. We had some talented players, but talent goes back to, I can't remember if it was Mr. Walter or Mr. Lamb's speech, but talent isn't enough.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really awesome point at graduation. Like, talent isn't enough. Everybody wants to talk about the Michael Jordans of the world. And yeah, he was talented, but that dude has an unreal work ethic. Kobe Bryant, same way. I mean, it takes what it takes. And if we want to change things, then we've got to make changes and we've got to sacrifice. And not that it's about us, but I could sleep in. I could go out on the river. I could do a lot of different things, but I know that in August, I'm going to want to play our best football. And it's going to take us being committed this summer to get that done.
And you have a staff that's second to none, in my opinion, Dee.
Dude, I agree. And not taking anything away from anybody else's staff. I've had the pleasure of, like, Iowa City West, spending time with them and being around other football programs. And I've built a really awesome community of coaches and stuff. But I think our coaching staff is special, and we've held that nucleus together and we've added to it. And they're guys that do it for the right right reasons. I mean, it'd be really easy after the last 2 seasons to walk away and be like, hey man, yep, sorry, it takes a lot and I just don't want to give a lot. But they've like put their heels in the ground and they're ready to freaking go. So I love that about them.
You know, and you know, you get knocked down, you get your ass back up and you pull your pants up and you go fight, you know, and that's what Fort Madison football is all about.
They're leaders, man. I said that in our post about our seniors, that this group, they didn't run, they didn't hide, they didn't find their way out. They stayed in the fight. And not that my respect means a lot to everybody, but they're going to have my respect forever because it when you're not doing well, it's easy to walk away. It's easy to quit. But these guys are just different, and they choose hard. They don't choose easy. And you know, we've just kind of got I mean, I don't want to go off on a rant and rave here, but it's like a society that, hey man, when things are uncomfortable and they're hard, just like don't do it. No, I disagree 100%.
I hate that.
Life is hard.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I mean, I know you've heard me say it, and I just said it at our parents' meeting not too long ago. Like, we're not turning out college and NFL players here, but I think football is such a great vehicle for life. And that's what we want. We want these guys to be successful in life and take the things that they learned through playing this beautiful game and become really successful because of lessons and experiences.
I wanted to take a few moments to say congratulations to all the guys that were on A and B honor roll. You know, you've just kicked some ass this year.
Yeah, man. I know it's not coming at wins right now. And I do believe that that's going to change. I think Coach said it, like a lot of things are cyclical, especially in communities like ours. You know, we had some great groups that came in and it was the right recipe and the right commitment. I mean, that was the big thing. Those kids were committed and they did everything that they were supposed to. But we have great kids. Even the 0-9 season we have fantastic kids. And I told that to them. I think it was the last day of school or maybe it was our last leadership meeting. The thing that I love about this group that we just had was there was not a single day, even though the season was not going well, that I thought, man, I don't want to go to practice today.
Yeah.
These guys, we got beat on Friday and they went and had Saturday and Sunday being kids, doing whatever kids do. And then when Monday came around, they had great attitudes. They were willing to learn and willing to work. And you know what? I don't ever want to go 0-9, but those kids were phenomenal. And I'm really excited about the guys that we're getting back. I mean, we lose some great seniors there, but we've got a lot of guys coming back that, you know, and you heard it, the message is, can we take this experience and grow and learn from it? Because again, life lesson, things aren't always going to go your way. What are you going to do?
Absolutely. You know, I want to give a shout out to a kid that, you know, as a freshman, you know, he was kind of, you know, he would get angry and punch, you know, the ground sometimes, but Cal freaking Hennings, man, is showing leadership, not only on the, you know, in the weights and all that sort of stuff, you know, trying to get his body right from where it was last year. But man, you want to talk about a great kid. That's one of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how many people know Cal. He is like a local.
He's pretty ornery, you know.
Oh, 100%. He is ornery. And you got to love that about him. But there's not a single person in this community, I don't think, that doesn't know Cal. And it's because of good things. He's always the first one there. If anybody needs anything, he's community service driven. He's obviously a really good football player too, but he's just a great young man. And to see the development in him, I know it's coach speak, but that's what this is about, dude.
Yeah. You know, I was really pissed off when, you know, he didn't make it up to, I think it was Davenport Assumption. You know, he didn't have his cast all cleaned up or whatever. And I think that was the game I almost got thrown out of, Dede. You know, it's freaking JV
shocked.
game.
I'm not shocked.
I mean, and I may be taking a sabbatical as far as, being on your staff and all that sort of stuff, but I'll tell you, I'll still be around, baby. And I can see some great stuff coming, and you just got to keep after it, man.
I appreciate that. And we've got a great group, and I know, singled out Cal there, but I mean, I hate naming names just because we do have so many great kids. I mean, Liam Pryor, Owen Huffman, Steph Burlett, like they just keep coming. Nolan Lamb. I mean, just phenomenal kids. And then you add Max Jones, who comes over to Fort Madison. And I think that says a lot about just our culture. And I know the kids a lot of times, like in our conversations, they think that culture and winning are always together. And we've had a really good culture. We've had really good kids. We haven't, won lately, but our culture is not that bad. But the exciting thing is this group right here reminds me a lot of like early on days, Teague Smith and Ike Thatcher, Leif Boding, and I just saw all those guys at grad parties, and we're talking football. We're talking about how things are going, and I'm like, man, these guys have so many similarities to your guys' group, and like Landis and Kane, and again, you can just go on and on. These guys, they have a lot of those similarities, and it's a lot of fun to be around.
100%. You got any final words out there for anybody?
Just congratulations to our graduates. It's what it's like. I love that. It shouldn't have to be mandatory for us to go to grad parties or graduation.
Yeah,
I think that that is such a cool moment. Whether you're up on the stage or you're in the stands or whatever. Like I've always gone to graduation just because, I mean, you see these kids when they walk in as freshmen, and you're like, oh, buddy, here we go. And then seems like, boom, here they are walking across, and they've just changed and developed so much. And it's just a really special thing. I mean, and then obviously now with the grad parties and stuff, I haven't been able to get to all of them. I was supposed to go to Caden Warner's tonight, and I feel really, really bad about not making it to that one. We were waiting on the Grand Pup, and then obviously had this, but just you go to the grad parties and you see these kids that come back and they're off in college and the work world and military and all this stuff. And it's such a special thing. So I guess my words would be congratulations to the graduates, and just been excited to see a lot of our former guys. I talked to them a lot through text message, but that face-to-face and getting a hug is awesome.
I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Riverside Resale Shop. Be sure to check that out, downtown Fort Madison. And I also want to give another shout out to Mr. Mike Walter. That was one of the greatest graduation speeches that I've ever been a part of. Sorry,
Easy
Patrick.
lead.
Sorry, Patrick.
Patrick's was good too.
It was good. Yeah.
You know what? We had some really great speakers, and I agree with you. I think Mr. Walter is our guy, man. He's elite. And you got Patrick and Jeff and Amy and Kelly. I mean, it's just such a great administration to be a part of. I really do believe Fort Madison is a special place, and it's fun to be able to say that because you read all the I'm just going to say
garbage.
The garbage on social media. Like, yeah, man, it's not perfect. Show me a place that is. There's a lot of places that paint it to be that way, but I truly believe
some of them fairly close.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm biased.
Sorry.
Of course.
Sorry.
I'm biased. I mean, I'm from here and I love this place, but I was a student. I went off and was part of an elite culture at Monmouth College. Like, there's a lot of similarities, and it's not perfect, and we don't have the Taj Mahal of facilities and stuff, but we've got a lot of great people, and I'll take great people over anything else any day of the week. And
100%.
Our teachers are legit.
Yeah. And one other thing, remember, listeners, Dog Pound Radio loves Fort Madison Community School District. We're out.